But perhaps now more than ever, people want to know, is he in denial? Does he get it?
It's bad in Iraq. Does that help? I do know that we have not succeeded as fast as we wanted to succeed. I do understand that progress is not as rapid as I had hoped.
President Bush and his closest ally, British Prime Minister Tony Blair, have stood shoulder to shoulder on the Iraq War since the very beginning. Critics calling Mr. Bush the cowboy for stubbornly leading the charge, and Mr. Blair the poodle for obediently following. But 3 years since the U.S. invasion, the two are still adamant their Iraq mission is sound. President Bush didn't just drink the Kool-Aid, he made it. But perhaps now it's a little less sweet.
But perhaps now, more than ever, people want to know what Bush's plan is and if it will work.
It's bad in Iraq. Does that help? I do know that we have not succeeded as fast as we wanted to succeed. I do understand that progress is not as rapid as I had hoped.
President Bush and his closest ally, Prime Minister Tony Blair, have stood shoulder to shoulder on the Iraq War since the very beginning. Critics call Mr. Bush the Lone Ranger for courageously leading the charge, and Mr. Blair Tonto for actively supporting him. In 3 years since the Iraq invasion, the two are still positive their Iraq mission is sound. Although President Bush's plan isn't playing out as he had hoped, he still has confidence the goal will be reached.
Happens. You know, it happened to me every time I tried to take a Friday off last year. We were told that that was the Friday that Karl Rove was going to be indicted.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Speaking of which, there was a story, and I love this, story out of Seattle. And the reason I love this is because it's transparency in the news. You have an editor who was actually outing his own people. The Seattle Times newsroom broke into applause when Karl Rove resigned. And, of course, that's it's bad. What I like about it is that the editor actually wrote about it and then went in and told the people in the newsroom that was unacceptable. And I got to say, my first night here at MSNBC was the President's State of the Union address in 2003.
Right.
And I was shocked because there were actually people in the newsroom that were booing the President basically from the beginning to the end.
Right.
And I actually talked to Phil Griffin about it, and he said, well, how was it last night? Because Phil was the one that called me out of the Ace Hardware store, got my vest on. I said, how was it last night? I said, well, it's okay. I understand it's a little bit different up here than it is down in Northwest Florida, but you had people in the newsroom actively booing the President of the United States.
Yeah.
Phil turned red very quickly.
Really?
That didn't happen again. But it is very good, though, that that the Seattle Times editor talked about that.
Yeah.
Wrote about it.
I'm gonna roll the dice before you